before writing, before recorded history, what was there? The immense silence of the cosmos. Perhaps the roar of beasts across landscapes of ice and the echo of the first human steps on Earth. In that ancestral landscape, darkness reigned, perhaps woven by gods and spirits whispering promises of life and destruction. Beneath skies filled with undeciphered stars, around flickering campfires, what fears and wonders, what fundamental questions began to take shape in the minds of our ancestors? Welcome, noble Templar Travelers, to the epic timeline of mythology, 40,000 years of gods and belief. In an ancient world where ice covered the earth like a silent mantle and time flowed like slow rivers beneath immense skies, around 40,000 BCE, the first sparks of myth began to glow in the darkness. In the heart of Europe, around 17,000 BCE, the frigid air of the Lascaux caves carried the scent of damp earth and smoke. There, beneath the crackling of torches, skilled hands painted bison and deer upon stone walls. It was the Franco-Cantabrian cave art, perhaps a shamanic ritual, a plea for the hunt, and the first tales rendered in ochre and charcoal. Here, the seeds of an animist mythology were sown, an echo of reverence for the spirits of nature. Journeying down to the vast African continent, we find another window into this dawn of the mythic mind. In southern Africa lived the San people, also known as Bushmen, guardians of one of the oldest human lineages and of a treasure trove of ancestral narratives. Their stories tell of Cagn, the divine mantis, a spirit who danced between the sacred and the mundane, shaping the world and teaching the first humans. And, as in other corners of the ancient world, their worldview was recorded in countless and fascinating rock paintings. Meanwhile, on the other side of the world in lands we now call Australia, echoes of an even more ancient faith resonated. Aboriginal mythology, woven over millennia, told of the Rainbow Serpent, a colossal creator being who tore through the earth during the dream time. Its shimmering body shaped rivers and mountains, and the voices of the First Nations rose in song, seeking harmony with the water, the land, and the eternal cycles of life. Concurrently, across Eurasia, small female figures took shape in stone, bone, or ivory. Known today as the Paleolithic Venus figurines, these statuettes with exaggerated forms were perhaps amulets, symbols of the mother goddess, or representations of survival and fertility in a relentless glacial age. Here sprouted a primal cult of life, spread across continents. These were not yet organized religions or complex pantheons, but rather the first seeds. They were the deep roots from which, later, the gods and colossal cities would sprout. From those deep roots, nurtured by the domestication of plants and animals, humanity began to flourish differently. The cold shadows of the caves gave way to the sun that blazed upon newly cultivated plains, and the echo of hoes striking the earth announced a new time. As early as 7500 BCE in Anatolia, at the extraordinary settlement of Catalhoyuk, the smell of roasted grains rose from clustered mud brick houses. There, on inner walls, figures of powerful bulls and full-breasted goddesses adorned domestic shrines, a glimpse into the first myths of a humanity learning to tame the land and live in dense community. These early experiences of agrarian and communal life prepared the ground. But it was millennia later, starting in the 4th millennium BCE, in the fertile valleys of the great rivers that this seed exploded into the first complex civilizations, with their monumental cities, writing, and organized pantheons. Between the Tigris and Euphrates, in the dusty land of Mesopotamia, the Sumerian civilization flourished. The scent of damp clay hung in the air as ziggurats, artificial mountains of baked brick, reached for the heavens, earthly homes for capricious gods like Inanna and Enlil. Here, cuneiform script was born, initially to record harvests and tributes, but soon to inscribe hymns, laws, and epics. The hot wind carried the echo of drums in complex rituals, and the fear of ancestral floods haunted the dreams of heroes like Gilgamesh, the king who sought immortality in vain. Later, in Babylon, the god Marduk would rise, slaying the chaos serpent Tiamat, in a myth that celebrated the order imposed by the city. The seeds of the world's great mythologies were already being sown. These primitive expressions, cave art, shamanic rituals, animistic myths, were humanity's first steps into the unknown. A reflection of how people began to make sense of the world through stories and beliefs. As these early beliefs spread across various cultures, they paved the way for epic tales of empires and divinities. It was here that the roots of mythological traditions took shape, with established pantheons and narratives that would shape humanity. Figures like Zeus, Anubis, Thor, Quetzalcoatl, and so many others would emerge from this legacy. These were the first stirrings of religious and mythological beliefs, the seeds that would later grow into eternal traditions. But what would happen when those seeds reached new lands and new gods? Next episode, we'll explore the first great gods and how civilizations rose. They built mighty pantheons and shaped religions that still echo in our world, the dawn of a new era. If you enjoyed this journey through the origins of mythology and want to discover how great civilizations brought new gods and epic stories to life, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next episode. See you on the next journey. Bye.